Hello and welcome to Simply Sassy, the Falcon and Winter Soldier review discussion. Today I'll be your host, Ben. Please be excited. With me we have some amazing people to go through and have we chat about the series. So first off, I want to kick it off and just go through and introduce these guests and get just a sort of a surface level sort of idea of what they thought of the show as we go through and introduce everyone. And then we'll go through and just have a more in-depth discussion about what they thought on the series and just a bit of a general chat. Would love any sort of chat interaction that you've got. So if you have any thoughts about the series, pop in there, pop in some comments, and we'll go through and have a discussion about that. So first off, I want to kick it off by introducing the one, the only. It's my fellow co-host from Simply Sassy. It's Philip J. Woodward. What's up, buddy?
I just want to say, you're all pretty good.
Oh, that's so good. I love that, Phil. Love that, buddy. You having a good weekend?
I am, yeah. It's a great weekend. I'm recording with some amazing people, having a lot of fun. And yeah, I can't wait to get into this. Can't wait to dig in.
Awesome, buddy. Awesome. And so, just surface level, what did you sort of think of the series? What sort of the main thoughts you've got about it? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, absolutely. I loved it. I'm under the camp that I could have gone for another 2 to 4 episodes. Like I would have loved for this to be like a 8 to 10 episode series instead of 6 episodes, just because I felt like some stuff could have been expanded upon and some stuff, really could have used some more dedication to like, those moments. I felt like some stuff was a little rushed here and there, especially like the finale episode, but we'll talk more in depth about that, I'm sure.
Awesome, buddy. Cool. And we have the one, the only, the Penny Marvels. It's Hoodie. What's up, Hoodie?
Hi.
What's
How's
up,
it going?
buddy? I'm good. How you going?
I'm doing good. Excited to be here.
Oh, good. No, thanks for coming. This is awesome. And so, Hoodie, what did you think of the series as a whole? Just general sort of thoughts.
I genuinely loved this series from start to finish. I think between WandaVision and this was vastly different. And I can tell which one was supposed to come out first and why. But I think watching this in this moment was really enriching, and I loved the character dynamics and everything about it.
Awesome, buddy. Cool. That's great. And we have, last but not least, it's Lexi Gunner. What's up, Lexi?
Going on?
Woo! How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's the weekend. Can't complain.
Nice. Now, I saw you tweeting about Winter Soldier and how much you liked it, so I was like, we've got to get Lexi on for this if we can. So I'm very excited you're here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I mean, I literally just finished it like probably 20, 30 minutes ago, so it's like right at the tip of my brain. I'm ready to go. I liked it.
Yes. You liked it? Awesome. Wow. Let's get into the discussion then. So I guess before we do that, I'd probably on the same boat as probably more so Phil. Like, I really enjoyed the series. I thought it had some really high highs, but for me, there's some moments that didn't quite connect with, specifically with the villain side of things. So that's kind of where I stand with it. Really, really enjoyed it. And I really like with Marvel that they are trying something new with, like you said, Hoodie, with WandaVision, with, Falcon and Winter Soldier. It definitely feels different, but still has those big moments that you get in the MCU movies as well. So I kind of like that it's a little bit more personal, it feels like, with these series, that we've got more time with these characters, which is really cool. So I guess first off, we want to talk about the big moments throughout the series, but I guess if we kick it off properly, it's actually easiest to start with. What did we sort of think of the villain of, well, I guess if you'd even call her a villain, but what did we sort of think
Carly?
about her as a whole? Yeah. Do you want to kick
Or
us
are
off?
we just like gonna group her and what's his name?
Oh, John Walker.
John Walker.
And the other one, the one who wanted the weapons. Why can't I think of his name?
Oh, the power broker?
Trick.
From the beginning, yeah, Bottrick, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
are we adding him
Oh.
too?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what did you think, Lexi?
As far as the villains, like, to me, he was like the least one. Like, even when he came back, I was like, oh yeah, you again.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't really understand his purpose too well. Carly, I was with, but I wasn't with how she wanted to do it. So And then it was like everybody was trying to tell her, like, you know, there's other ways, like they're on your side, but she's just like, nope, you're gonna do it my way. Like I don't care. Like even if I die, like I'm gonna do it my way. And that's pretty much what it came to. Like, you know, she didn't want to listen to anyone and ended up dying. So it was like you could have, you know, lived if you would have just listened to somebody. So, but yeah, that's I don't know. Like you said earlier, like are we gonna call them villains? Like I don't even know if we can call them villains because they were all to me over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Batroc was, or Batroc, I think that's his name. He was really just a mercenary. So like, he just follows the money. I don't know if you can really call him a villain per se.
Okay.
And then even John Walker, like he's not really a villain. And depending on how you feel about the cause, you know, the flag. What's Flag Smashers? You know, they were fighting for a cause that they believed in. So I don't really know if any of them were exactly villains in the same sense of, you know, like Thanos or um you know, like Ronin or any of the other like Marvel villains. I can't believe those are the two that popped into my head first. But I mean, Thanos makes sense, but Ronin of all people, it's because I just watched Captain Marvel again. Um, but yeah, it was interesting.
I feel like the main reason we maybe didn't connect is they're talking about events we haven't really seen much of, because obviously the whole thing is these, you know, if the flag smashes, it's about, hey, look what has happened to these displaced people after this 5 years coming back, and all this stuff is happening. I feel like we needed maybe a flashback or actually to go and see what she had actually been through.
And I feel like that's what I mean when I say that this series could have used an extra episode or two to kind of flesh some of that other stuff out. Because in WandaVision, getting that episode on Rambo was one of the best parts of it. You know, seeing the snap before and after and those events and how it affected people was really interesting. So yeah, it would have been nice to kind of see something as to how people were living prior to the events of the show.
I think that's one of the biggest problems this series has is that it feels more like setup than WandaVision ever did. I think WandaVision told a story from beginning to end. Maybe didn't land the ending, but it set up at the end. Where this was very much, here's a bunch of threads. We're not going to tie any of them together right now because we have Armor Wars coming. We have clearly setting up Young Avengers. We have all of these different narratives that will eventually pay off. And that's what this series felt like the most to me. Although I loved it, and I just wish they would have gone full on just telling Sam's story. That's all we're doing here. But there was a lot of misguidance in this from the villain's perspective, because as well you're going into these villains that you are painting completely gray most of the time, including, if we're talking with the ending alone, I mean, we're redeeming John Walker within seconds. We're just moving on. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And I think that's where the hero villain problem comes in the most, where no one's defined as a villain. No one, which I respect. I appreciate them trying to tell, no, there's more than one side. But you're kind of painting everybody as a villain, but not a villain, it doesn't pay off in any way. It's like a master of none kind of situation that we're dealing with the villains.
Cool Beezer in the chat says they were radicals and killed civilians. They were villains. I don't think I'm saying that they're not bad people and that they're doing things the wrong way or in a bad or negative way. But when I think of a villain, I think of someone that has like a universal plan, that has like,
right, a purpose.
Yeah, and I feel like it was never really fleshed out or like made a strong enough. They weren't made to be a strong enough antagonist for our main characters for me to believe them as a quote unquote villain for a movie or TV show.
To jump off that, Phil, I think what their biggest problem here was, because from my understanding, the script had to drastically change according to the pandemic that we are currently living in, because it was supposed to be a virus that affected a lot of communities, a lot of marginalized communities, and they were going to be sticking up for, that was going to be their movement, fighting back the government who is letting people just die for the sake of governmenting. I think he had a lot of rewrites, a lot of last minute changes that really threw off the narrative of what they were trying to tell, and they couldn't quite recover from that. The pandemic itself, the film industry really had to shift this entire series.
That makes a lot of sense, because there's certain conversations they're having where I feel like there's more context that we're just not getting at all. So it does make me wonder if there was stuff cut entirely from it.
Especially when you go to the John Walker scene where Carly and Anthony Mackie, Falcon, in the kind of warehouse area, those containers say cure on them, and that would have played into it heavily more, I think. And there's a lot on the cutting room floor that we will just never see now, because they, for good reason, had to maneuver.
Now, I think going forward, what we might do is we just got some people that have written in reviews. So first off, we've got just some thoughts from fellow Simply Sassy member Kumal. So I'll just go through this and let me sort of let me know what you all sort of think. But Kumal just says here, I really love the series, especially the back and forth of Sam and Bucky. I especially love the back and forth and seeing Sam using his experience from helping soldiers with PTSD when interacting with him and various characters we meet ultimately towards the end with Bucky. A few moments that made me laugh/loved. He's got here the moment in the car with Zemo, the callback to the Civil War episode where you're not going to move your seat up, are you? Which is pretty good. We've got some moments here he's talking about when Bucky confronts Zemo to try and find out where the funeral was being held. Zemo stares him down and Falcon interrupts and tells Bucky to calm down. Take it easy, don't engage him. He's just going to extort you and do that stupid head tilt thing. So, there's some great moments. He's got a lot more here as well. But I guess for you, or what were the big moments for you that, when you think to the series as a whole, what are the main things that sort of stand out to you? So Lexi, I'll kick it off to you. What were the big moments for you?
A lot of agreeing to what Camille said, like the whole, I'm not gonna lie, the Bucky and Falcon, at first I did not like their back and forth. I was like, this is too corny. Like, can we get into like something else? Like, I get it, you guys are trying. But then as the show went on, I grown to love it. Like they were cool, best buddies, especially the fixing the boat scene and flirting with the sister. I was like, all right, relax, man. Like one day at a time here. So and then let me see, like another one was just the action scenes, like even the finale, like how it just started off like, we're not playing around, we're just gonna go, straight through the window, guns blazing, explosions. Like every action scene I loved. They didn't hold back with any of the action scenes. And I did want to see like more of Falcon's backstory. Like I think Philip mentioned that earlier. Like I thought that's what we were gonna get, because even when he was introduced in the MCU, like I didn't read any of the comics, so I'm just like, okay, who's this flying black guy? And we never really got that. So besides him being a mentor. So I mean, again, if they would have had like maybe a couple more episodes just to kind of give us a little bit more of his backstory, but overall, I mean, he's cool. Like
some of those scenes were some of my favorites. Like the scenes where, he's dealing with his sister and the banks and the displacement of, him being gone for so long and not having credit. Like I loved all of those world building scenes with him and getting that backstory for sure. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to throw that out
fine.
there.
I mean, yeah, that was cool too. But I just wanted to know, like, where did you come from? Like, how did you really get here? Like, I just felt like we didn't really get a true backstory. But still, overall, you can see his grow up from even when he was first introduced till now, just as a character, and just how they, just made him grow. Like I pretty much enjoyed that the most.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I absolutely would have loved more of that for sure, because those were easily my favorite parts. And I know, Ben, you felt that way in some of those scenes too. Like, a lot of that slower world building stuff was just a lot of fun, especially considering it's two characters that haven't gotten a lot of personal time like we've seen in a lot of the Marvel universe.
Yeah, I love the buddy cop moments, and I love especially the penultimate episode where you just get them hanging out and just chilling, and then you get that amazing montage and the moment where they sort of, have that really upfront sort of discussion. And even says, "Look, I can't remember the exact line, but he's like, you ready for some, hard truths?" And then, yeah, just that whole episode for me is really what sort of solidified the really good moments of the episodes and what it can be. I thought that was great. So no, absolutely, I sort of echo everyone's sort of sentiments around that. That's they are the strong moments for me. Those character moments, the moments between, Bucky and Sam, and then even some of the more quiet moments in the first episode where it's, Bucky and I can't remember the older gentleman's name that he spends a lot of time with in that first episode. The obviously the guy that sadly his son had been killed by the Winter Soldier previously, and then when you get that at the end and he actually goes to tell him what happened, like that was just heartbreaking. I think for me they were the big moments that really stood out for me in the series. But yeah, what about you, Hoodie? What are the big moments for you that sort of stand out?
I'll be right back. I just wanted to throw that out there real quick.
Cool.
I think the biggest moments for me are the smallest moments. They just were so for what I wanted out of this series more than anything, and I think that's what. Not trying to compare them constantly, but I think that's what WandaVision did perfectly, where it was just a human story. You weren't thrown action after action, and I think this was at its best when they just sat down and kind of let the show breathe. As a fan of Zemo, long before this show came along, I was very happy to see all of the moments with Zemo. I think he's fantastic. I love everything about his character, what they're doing with him. He's just so driven. He's, I think, what Captain America was in some fashion. He goes about everything the wrong way. That driven nature to just make sure this mission is completed is such a fascinating take with him. Because, I mean, if you've read any of the comics, Zemo isn't usually this quote unquote nice. And so to see him kind of be an anti-hero was an interesting take that I loved. I also really loved all of the moments that Sam just had being an uncle, and I thought those moments were, again, some of the best and brightest parts of this show, including with Bucky just waking up and seeing Sam's nephews playing with the shield. That to me was like, oh, I love this. Cool. These are the moments I care about.
No, absolutely, and even that at the end where they're like hanging off Bucky's arm, and that sort of those final scenes, it's so cool. All those sort of quiet moments. And what do we think of John Walker? So, Lexi, what do you sort of think of the character?
Let's see. When he was introduced, I'm like, of course, like the government's not gonna let the shield just sit there. And the guy himself, I didn't get douchey vibes off rip until later on in that episode where it was getting to him, like in his head, pretty much like, hey, you know who I am and all that, and I'm captain. Like, you've only been on the job for like a week or two, bro. Relax, like they got to get to know you too, so, or you got to get to know them too. So that's when I was like, okay, here we go. But and then like towards the end, like when they were when they meet up with him again, it's like, wait a minute, we're friends now? Like, what is going on? So, and it's like, I didn't get it. I was like, okay, I guess they all realize, we'll deal with each other later and just, do what we need to do. But the turning point, like when he decided to actually save people this time instead of fighting Carly, I thought that was, I thought he was going to actually turn a new leaf and actually be somewhat good. But as the ending went on, I'm like, no, he's up to something with Val. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go now.
Yeah, that was interesting. Eh? And from what we know, it sounds like she potentially might make an appearance, right, in Black Widow. Is that what we're hearing, right? So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with her character going forward and what that all means. Now, Phil, did you make it back alive, Phil?
Yeah, I did. John Walker is another character that I really wish had more development, because, like Lexi was just saying, like his emotional state throughout the series like seemed to progress a little too fast, especially for like how short of a time frame it seems like the show took place in. And so like going from him being nervous about being Captain America to being like whatever, I'm Captain America, and then the point where he like literally murders someone, and then like in the just after the big fight scene between Falcon, Bucky, and him, like all of a sudden, I know it's out of necessity because they're all trying to, go through a common goal. There's no point in fighting him or telling him to go away when he's trying to help. But at the same time, like, him being that way, like being so quick to be okay after his best friend dies, and he just murdered someone in cold blood, like, and then the super serum just doesn't seem to affect him in the same way anymore. I don't know, there's just like a lot of weird things that they tried to set up and then just let go of really quickly. And so I really that goes back to what I was talking about, where I would have liked another episode or two to like flesh some of this other stuff out.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right with. I think going into this and knowing who John Walker was, I immediately was like, this guy's not going to be great. And then seeing it play out, I was like, he's not entirely shitty yet. I don't know why, but comparing him to any of the other villains, like Thanos, you had 2.5 hours to tell a story about one villain. You had 6 hours to tell a story about a villain, and they pulled off Thanos in 2 hours. And I don't know why they kept screwing around with John Walker so much. He just never landed in any regard. He wasn't a villain. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't awful. He wasn't good. Like, I mean, he was awful at times, obviously, but it's like they just could not decide where he was going. And then when they introduced Adam Hydra, I was like, okay, yes, we're getting the Thunderbolts. We're putting this together. This is what's happening. And then they were like, no, he's just hanging out with the Falcon and Bucky now. I guess they're friends, and we're moving on from this. And then they have the end sequence where it's like, oh boy, so we are going with Madam Hydra and the Thunderbolts? What are we doing here?
That's what Cool Breeze One says here, Hail Hydra. Is that where, I mean, you obviously sound like you know a lot about the comics, Hoodie. Is that where that's going, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the setup for this felt like they were, I for one did not expect Carly to die. I don't know Carly from the comics. I don't know if she is in the comics, but her character definitely seemed like she was going to take the mantle of almost a Falcon or a Captain America for the Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts are created by Ross Thunderbolt. If you don't know who it is, he's the douchebag and military guy in almost every Civil War and Iron Man, all of those. He's awful. He's in an Incredible Hulk. But he kind of makes his anti-Avengers, and them recruiting John Walker, I thought was going to be more apparent, and it just kept feeling. It just felt so floaty with him. He was. I think Wyatt Russell is an incredible actor. I think what he was given, he did the best with it, but he just did not want to make a decision with it. Just did not.
Yeah, hopefully we get more of that maybe in any potential future movies or series, and that would be good, to get him even a little bit more backstory. I mean, I think the way they introduced his character was pretty strong. Obviously, him going out to that stadium with people, and then just that initial scene beforehand, that was really great. But it would have been great to see a little bit more backstory, which would have been nice.
Yeah, it's hard when you think about it, because it's like 45-ish minutes an episode. That's like 4.5 hours of time. you're trying to set up like 4 different plot threads with, villains and stuff, with the power broker, with Carly, with, you know, oh my God, John Walker, and then, all that stuff. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just a really short amount of time to try and introduce so much.
I mean, WandaVision had 8 episodes, right? So it had an extra 2 episodes to develop, their characters more.
Even with those 2 episodes, I don't know if they wanted to tell any other story except we're setting up other movies. 22 movies, again, Armor Wars. This also leads into Young Avengers. This leads into Secret War, the series that they're going to have, Secret Invasion. This sets up so many other things. That there was no amount of episodes that could clearly give everybody a backstory, unfortunately.
Now, Phil, we didn't get a chance to hear about your favorite moments from the season. So, tell us what it is, buddy. What was your favorite moment?
Fighting with my cat from knocking over my microphone is.
I don't remember that in the series.
Yeah, it's this great point in the show where I literally was in it, trying not to let my cat knock over my microphone.
You said before the show, should we have cameras on, and I said no, and I immediately regret this now. I should have seen this.
I agree. That was a mistake,
man. So I think my favorite moments were anything that featured the Dora Milaje, first of all, was fucking badass as hell. Those ladies have such a freaking awesome presence whenever they come on screen, and I love every single minute of it.
Cool Breeze does say here that Dora Milaje had the best fight scene, and I agree. It was amazing.
Yeah, super cool. The part where like they disabled his arm in that fight scene just had like a very almost anime, like let me hit the pressure points feel to it. That I don't know. It just, everything about that whole, everything about that got me. And let's see. Definitely the scene for me, I know there's some people that didn't like the Captain America Falcon suit. But the fact that like it is literally taken from the comic books down to just like some of the most minor details, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And so seeing him flying through the air in the new suit, just after like his wings were broken, and you're thinking, oh no, and then the package arrives, and then it's the thing. It's just such a cool thing. And I love that he wasn't bestowed the power of being Captain America by the US government. He just decided to take it on himself. Like all of that was just really a really cool moment for me, getting to watch that and see that unfold.
His Be Better speech at the end, that got me. That was so good.
Yeah. And let's see. I thought the Zemo stuff was really a big highlight for me, even though there's some stuff about Zemo that, like, I don't know if it was the blip or, them going back in time, the whole butterfly effect, but like in Civil War, when his character is introduced, doesn't seem like a super rich dude. And he just wanted to protect his family, and he worked in the special service and whatever and whatnot. He didn't seem like rich man Baron Zemo like he did in this show. So I don't know if that was like something he's always had, like he's always been rich, but maybe his, the woman he decided to love wasn't up to his family's expectations, so he decided to leave his family and riches behind to be with her. And then of course when everything happened in Sokovia, he decided to tap back into those riches because it was something he could use to get his revenge. I don't know. Anyway, I thought that whole thing was a little strange. He just in some ways seemed like a very different character.
I think like looking back on it might be because he had that one purpose. Like I think in Civil War it was just that's all he could think of. That was his only purpose, to just obviously see that down for the Avengers, and then obviously with the super soldier side of things, and that side of it's cool. But I think that's maybe why he's like, he just didn't care about his money. He just had that one purpose, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, just wanting to make sure that no one was superior to anyone else because of a power of some kind, I think is a lot, lost a lot in Civil War a lot of the time. But I like that they were able to just really flesh out his drive in this series.
Now, Cool Breeze 1 here says, considering how they changed many of the goofy aspects of the costumes in the comics for the movies and shows, they could have done better. So I do want to actually know, we've heard about what Phil thinks, and I respect and appreciate that opinion. And I want to hear that from Lexi, though. Lexi, what did you think of the costume?
The end result?
Yeah.
I mean, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine. Like, yeah, they could have did better, but I'll give it a C.
Do you think it's because they hyped it up too much in the penultimate episode?
Yeah, because they ended with him opening it, so it's like, oh, we about to see some cool stuff, and then when you see it, okay.
See, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, we've got this cool Wakanda tech or something is going to be in there. Obviously, it's going to be a cool suit designed by them, and I actually like the suit. I don't really like the headpiece and the goggle part. I think maybe just the goggles would have been better instead of the weird little bit up the top. But I still think it's quite cool. But yeah, I think it was just hyped up so much. I was expecting something way more.
For me, it's one 45-minute episode where you see the suit for 25 minutes. You know, in the next movie or iteration, they're going to change the suit.
Oh, yeah. You go back and look at the original Captain America suit, and looks really goofy.
I feel like this was literally just to be like, hey, fans, we love you, you know?
Yeah.
Fans of the comic books, I should say.
A heck of a team.
I think that's fair, Phil. I was talking to Robin GL. Shout out to him. He will be missed from that.
Robin.
I was talking to him how I thought they would just take it in a different direction. I was pleasantly surprised that they went with comic accuracy, but I do think with Captain America 4 being announced, it's kind of like, okay, we're gonna quickly get an improvement to that suit.
Yeah, 100%. They're going to see all the internet feedback. They're going to see all the people who didn't like it or thought it could have been better, and they're going to make adjustments according, and it's going to be like the Captain America 1 to Captain America 2.
Oh, yeah. Just going off your sentiments real quick, Phil.
Yeah.
God, all of the action sequences in the final episode with Falcon was just amazing. The scene where he throws down his wings when he's not wanting to fight Carly, all of those things were just like, this is the best fight sequence, I think, in that whole chunk I have ever seen out of Marvel so far.
Any sequence with Falcon is so cool mechanically because he's doing all of these different things to flip himself around, to use the momentum of his jetpack or his wings, or he's one of the most complex fighters in the entire series, and I feel like it gets so underplayed in the movies. So I was super stoked to see him really get to spread his wings in this series and actually get to utilize that tech, and we get to see these really cool sequences where it's just him fighting off these bad guys in the beginning, or fighting these bad guys at the end, and just really cool stuff like that. Absolutely.
He throws his shield out the window and then has to
and then catches it. Yes.
Oh my god, I had chills.
For me, it was the wings in the ground and the shield at the front, to hold his stance. That was so cool.
Right.
Are those wings vibranium?
Yeah, they have to be, right? They're from Wakanda.
I would assume they are now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when
because he got them from Wakanda.
With Falcon on the plane, where he grabs the guy and just jetpacks him against the crate.
Yeah.
All of those things.
I love that he thinks a little bit differently as well. Like, there's that whole, he scans the helicopter to find out if anyone's a pilot. Like, he's a little bit slower, more methodical in the way he does some things, and he's a little bit smarter about it, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, literally everything he does. Yeah, his brain is constantly thinking about the best tactical decision for a situation, and it's just a really cool thing because they're able to show that as well as have him say it.
Yes.
There was something I was literally just thinking about in regards to that, and now I forgot. What was it? Go ahead and talk. I'm gonna see if I can remember what this
Well,
was.
while we're talking about, there's one thing we definitely need to talk about, which is the Zemo cut. Lexi, what do you think of Zemo's dance moves? Like, they're pretty amazing, right?
I mean, hey, when you want to get jiggy with it, you know,
You gotta head
I
up.
give him his props.
Gotta
I
head
give
up
him his
Zemo.
props. Like, you're in the club, you know, you can't help but dance. So
You're just feeling
I
the
gave him his
music, you know?
props. Yeah. Yeah, no shame in his game. He was pumped.
It was so good. I loved it so much.
God, Phil
I'm pretty
wasn't
sure-
here, but he gushing
Oh, go
over
ahead.
Zemo carries over to this scene again. It's so perfect. I love everything they did with Zemo.
He's just happy to be out of prison, eh? He's having such a good time, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Well, he had such a cool demeanor with everybody.
Yeah.
If that dance
Yeah.
scene didn't give you Spider-Man 3 vibes,
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what would.
Imagine Spider-Man 3, but if it was good. That's what this was.
You're not wrong.
Now, I know a lot of people were disappointed about we didn't get the, what's that exact line that he says? But I can do this all day, when Cap gets up. I personally kind of appreciated it was something a little bit different because he's not the same Captain America. But what did you all think about that? You're going to go Hoodie?
Full agreement.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were like, oh, why did they take that away from him? That would have been such a great moment. But I'm like, but he's not Steve Rogers. That's not what they're doing here. Why aren't you understanding that right now? He had done that. That's just like Phil was saying, how it was very much a tip of the hat to the fans for the suit. That would just be like, what? That doesn't even make sense. He would never say that. Also, Falcon was never around when he said that. So it would be odd for him to even know that was a Steve Rogers thing.
Now, if Bucky had said, "On your left,"
Oh, that would also be
We're
great,
going to
but
get that in the
also
next one,
odd.
right? Are they saving that for
No.
Cap 4?
and not even as like a hey, like sentiment to that, but just literally like, "Hey, I'm on your left."
Oh, we're getting that in Cap 4 for sure, Phil, now that you've said that. I'm so hyped. That's awesome. That'd be
I
great.
agree with you, Ben. Glad they didn't.
And it's such a perfect setup for an actual movie. I think that we were talking about that actually before it was announced, Phil. It was like, I bet they do a Cap 4, and it's going to happen sooner rather than later. And it's just such perfect, build up for that, It's so good.
Part of me wishes that they would call it Captain America and the Winter Soldier again.
Oh, we better get just them. Like, if it's another full blown Captain America movie, I just hope we still get that same sort of balance between him and Bucky. Like, we need both of them in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, Bucky has to be in it.
Yeah.
But Bucky has to be in it, like, especially how they ended it with their bond. Like, they're bros now. He has to be in it in some form.
Bucky really is the best sidekick. He will never be anything better than a sidekick, which I think a few analysis videos that I've watched is like, man, he's getting the short end in every regard from all of these movies combined. But I love his dynamic with Falcon, and I think that's where he belongs. That's his sweet spot. It's just being, Falcon's right hand man.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you think they sort of dealt with overall? I think it was Phil on the first episode I was talking to you, and they sort of start to maybe talk about some of the race stuff. And I said to you, like, I don't know if Disney will go there, but I really hope they actually do, because, I mean, when we get that penultimate episode with Bucky talking to Sam about that whole thing, I was kind of where Bucky was, where I was like, I love Sam as a character. He's so cool. I just wouldn't even thought anything of it. I'm just like, sweet, we get this new Captain America. This is going to be awesome. But, Bucky's line about how we didn't even think, what it meant to potentially have, a black person actually be Captain America. I thought that was really cool that they actually went there and actually, they didn't shy away from any of it. And that a lot of the season was actually about that. So what did everyone sort of think about that?
Me, like, it was fine. Like, they were, hinting here and there, like each episodes, and then you get to the finale, and he gives his speech, and of course you're gonna have a divide of what people think of it, but it was something that needed to be said because that it's true. Like even though it's a TV show, it's still, reality. And like I think they handled it fine, as far as you can kind of tell. It seemed more scripted than acted, like, to me, like,
Mm.
but it was still fine. But what really got me was I'm calling Cap now. Cap's last scene with Isaiah Bradley, and
Oh yeah.
how he was
Getting
still
into the
like Bradley.
statue.
Like Bradley was still kind of holding this tough guy image, and like even Cap was like, you can't like relax a little,
Yeah.
and and then when he took him to the museum and showed him what he did for him, like that's when he got me, like, just
Mm.
like I like the biggest smile, like even a tear. Like, you said, you didn't want people to know you existed. Now the world's gonna know you existed. Now the world's gonna know that a black Captain America existed, or exists, pretty much. So I think
Yes,
they
yes.
handled it well.
Right in the feels. Hey.
I
That's what
think
got me.
the one scene that um, that got me was the one where they're standing in the middle of the street after they first talk to Isaiah, and the cop comes up and he starts, being like, "What are you doing?" Like, "Hey," and then Bucky starts saying, "Hey, it's fine, we're together," and then it's not until the other officer, says, "Hey, this is the Falcon," that they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and that moment is just such a real thing, a real moment that happens. It always makes me think of like this incident that happened to Terry Crews in an airport where he was getting pulled over by TSA, and they started going through all of his belongings, and then someone came over and was like, "Hey, do you know who this is? This is the football player Terry Crews." And the guy was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize who you were. I didn't know who you were." And like that idea that status elevates who you are, you know, like is just such a real thing, and it sucks that it is that way. And I thought that was a good way to portray that without like getting violent.
Mm.
Sorry, I'm trying to fight off dogs at the same time here.
Oh my goodness.
What's going on over there, Phil? Do we need to send help? We
So
need to
the
send
problem is
Hoodie and
I'm
Lexi over for
dogs.
backup.
I'm dog sitting right now, and so I've got 2 extra dogs, and the cat wants nothing to do with them. So, and now they're fighting. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. But
Would you say
anyway,
it's a civil war, Phil?
it is very much so.
Ah, a Captain America
Um,
3 Civil War.
but as someone who has been in a very similar situation to that, I can totally just feel that situation 100%. And yeah. Anyway,
Nice. And what do you think, Hoodie?
I think what they did was beyond necessary. I don't know how many people here have watched Watchmen's HBO's version of Watchmen, and I think seeing what can be done in the superhero medium with these very important conversations we need to have. I wish they, I think I said this at the beginning, I wish they just would have made this a Sam story. Just went full on. We tell a story the way we need to, without all of this other kind of screwing about with John Walker and 500 other characters that just didn't need to be here right now. But for what they did do, I thought did a good job with. Proud to at least see some, steps forward in Disney and storytelling the way it needs to be told.
Nice. I don't know, I haven't really talked about, I agree with everyone's favourite moments. I'm kind of in the same vein there, but probably the one that we haven't talked about that I really enjoyed, or didn't enjoy really, but it was a very powerful moment, was the Bucky scene in Wakanda, that opening, where you get that sort of flashback to what actually happened there, and that was extremely powerful. That first moment where she says the code words and then he's free of it. That was just incredibly well acted and just a very, very powerful scene. So what did Lexi, what do you think of that?
Yeah, that was very powerful. Because we haven't seen him, act like that or pretty much show any other emotion other than just being this mercenary or program to do. So just to really see him have a different emotion was just powerful in itself, and just to see him still want to go forward after having that um what do you call it, the code words pretty much out of his mind, to still even want to right his wrongs and pretty much forgive everyone. It was just it was a side where I wasn't expecting,
Mm.
but it was great to see.
Nice. And is there any other sort of moments anyone sort of want to talk about before we sort of sign off, before we give our final thoughts?
Have we talked about Shadow Broker?
No, I don't think
Not
we have.
really, no.
Because that to me was a complete disaster in every
Yeah.
regard. That was a mess from beginning to end. I think one of the greatest points that was brought up is that you referred to the Shadow Broker as a he several times, Zemo included, and Zemo even mentioned, "Oh, I've met the Shadow Broker. I know him from my past." I'm like, "Yeah, no, you don't. You clearly do not. If this is the direction they're going, you never met the Shadow Broker." And I don't know if that was kind of like a red herring or something. I don't know how they're playing this at all. But even down Lee, I can't remember her handle right now, but she was on the Waypoint podcast bringing up the point, when you read her texts, she talks completely differently from when she talks out of text, which is like a little thing to pick up on. But one of the things she mentioned was how she referred to Carly as baby girl, and hearing Sharon ever say that would not make any sense in any regard. And I think there was just a lot of something happened. Something must have happened, because I just don't want to believe this is correct.
So, I think that it could be something of the idea that she didn't necessarily like say she was the power broker. It was more, I feel like it was more implied by
Carly said it?
By, well, Bartok. He's like, "You're the
Yeah,
power broker, now I want 4 times as much money." And then, she's like, whatever, you're not going to control me or whatever. I don't think she actually ever says that she's the power broker.
Yeah, because at the end she's on the phone, like in the what do you call it, after credits scene. She's on the phone with someone. So is that the power broker? Like whoever she's talking to? So
Yeah, I feel like either the power broker themselves is an organization that has multiple people that play head roles, or she's shadow working for someone else that is actually the power broker.
So in the comics, it is a two-person organization. It is two people working together as the Shadow Broker. And I thought, okay, yeah. In my head, I had just watched it when it released at midnight, so I haven't had a chance to rewatch it. But I thought Carly had also acknowledged that she was the Shadow Broker, and that's why Sharon killed Carly to keep that silent.
Sharon nodded, but I could be wrong.
I mean, either way, though, I feel like that could just be an acknowledgement of them knowing each other, not necessarily that she is the power broker.
Possibly. I think there were a few messy things here, like Robin, to bring up Robin again. We had a conversation mentioning how the John Walker sequence just does not play for a lot of people, where he's taken the serum and nobody knows it. Not a single person I've talked to was like, "Oh yeah, that was obvious. I knew he had it." Up until in a conversation, I was like, "Oh." So there are a lot of things in this show that may be too subtle.
Did anyone get any real Batman Begins and Dark Knight Rises kind of vibes from this scene here? You probably see it in just a little bit here, but the stairwell scene and a lot of the action scenes from the final episode.
I swore that was the Hans Zimmer score when they were putting the senators or whoever they were in the back of the truck and locking them in.
Yeah,
I thought it was the tick 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 that that beat, I was like, oh yeah, this sequence right here.
Mm.
This must.
That's awesome.
This is not the dark.
But yeah, I definitely think it's really interesting. Beyond Sharon, like being the power broker or not being the power broker or being part of the team, I think it's a really interesting character change for her because
Yeah.
I mean she had the choice to join Hydra in Winter Soldier and decided against it. So why the sudden character change? Like, yeah, I realize you went on the run, but like so did everybody else. I just don't understand why there was this huge character shift in her ideals.
You think it was the abandonment? I mean, there was a clear divide between Cap and Iron Man, and then when it all came together at the end, she was still somehow out of the loop. And does that ultimately, foster resentment and turn a person? Is that the story we just don't know about fully?
Sure.
I'm sure it'll be fleshed out more in the future, hopefully. Yeah.
Well, it's definitely going to be fleshed out more.
Regardless, I thought she was awesome. Like her fight sequences, that very clear, like John Wick episode written by the writer of John Wick is just incredible. Her standing down the from the crates, waiting for the guy to turn and just pops him. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Everything with her was like, oh, this is a badass character.
Oh yeah. Cool. Any other sort of big moments, any standout moments that we're going to talk about before we go for our final thoughts? No, we're good.
Sorry,
I'm,
I was dogfighting again.
Just so.
I'm scared for your safety, Phil.
Me too.
Oh, we're glad to have you. I'm glad to have everyone here. So, yeah, before we go, I do want to go around everyone and just get sort of final thoughts on what they've thought of the season as a whole and what they're excited for, obviously, maybe with Captain America 4 and what we might get out of it. So I want to kick it off firstly with you, Hoodie. If you can tell us final thoughts and, what you're excited for the future of the MCU and for obviously, the Captain America 4.
I have never been more excited for the MCU. I've been here since day one. I love it. Love all of the goods and bads about it. But what's excited me the most, I know I've touched on almost a complaining level of it not having any direct, narrative. It's very much, here's a bunch of threads, we'll tie them up later. But I think those threads are just some of the most exciting things to come. I'm excited for what they're doing with Armor Wars and how they've set that up. If you know anything, we're going to get Sam Rockwell back, and I'm so excited to have Sam Rockwell back. Bring him in all day, every day. I think the way they're slowly trickling out the Young Avengers is going to be super exciting. Kate Bishop being a founding member coming up. We've got Isaiah Bradley's grandson, who is also in the Young Avengers. And I think just that he was very much a passive character, but I think having that there, you'll look back and go, oh, snap, that's awesome. There are so many things what the MCU does best is makes everything better retroactively. I think this is one of those series that I did love from beginning to end, regardless of its imperfection. But I'm very excited for the future and what the future does for this series when I watch it back later on.
You touch on a good point there where a lot of these movies come out and then you go back and watch the originals and it really fleshes them out. And I feel like almost any other series and any other movie, like normally the sequels, to be fair, are normally pretty mediocre at best and normally never as good as the original. Somehow they keep outdoing themselves but also make the prior movies even better. It's just incredible what they've been able to do over there at Marvel Studios. It just blows my mind, eh? Like, it's just so good.
I don't know what kind of award it can get, but Kevin Feige, he needs an award.
Give him a big holiday. Give him a raise, and and then have him come back and make some
president
cool stuff.
Of everything.
Love it. Oh, thanks for that, Hoodie. That's good. And Lexi, what about you? What did you think about the series as a whole, and what are you excited for in the future of MCU?
Well, before these shows started, like this one and WandaVision, like I was a fan of the underdogs, the B-list characters, as some people say. But like even when we were getting introduced to the shows coming out, there was still a side of me that was like, do we really need this? Like, is it was just in like a little part of my head, like, do we really need this? And it wasn't until WandaVision finished that I finally decided to just go ahead and watch it. And holy snap, like that was a good series. Like I kind of disappointed in myself for even having that small thought in my mind. And just going with Falcon and Winter Soldier, like I waited until maybe episode 5 to start binging it because, well, we get spoiled with these streaming services. So I wanted to at least have a couple out before I jumped in. So it wasn't until 5 where I just finally decided to give it a watch. And, again, blown away. Like, yeah, we do need this. These are great. And the future is going to be even more great. And like we got my boy Loki coming. Like that's
Yes!
the one that I'm really excited
Let's
for.
go.
But even before that, like we still have Black Widow. And sorry to say, but this is like maybe the one thing that I well, not the one thing, but like the most thing as far as the MCU, I agree with Andrea Renee on. As far as Black Widow sucks. Sorry, I said it. Do we really need to see this? Do we really need to see this
Black
movie?
Widow
Like,
sucks. Black
like,
Widow
do we really need?
sucks.
Oh my god.
Do we really need to see this movie? Like, even though it's been, delayed so many times, we know what happened to her in Endgame. Like, do we? Come on, can we just skip it? No, we can't. But I get it. But the future is still bright. I'm excited.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I think hopefully that's the hope. That's the hope with Black Widow, is that hopefully it maybe does, flesh out a story a little bit more, and it is actually. Really hope it's good.
She's
sure
dead.
But she didn't get a chance. If you've read any of her comic runs, they're so great. You just
Oh no! I love Black Widow. I absolutely love Laura Bailey's in the animated series is one of my favorite renditions of Black Widow. Like outside of comic books. I'm just saying movie Black Widow sucks, and she's dead. She's dead. I don't care.
Yeah, like I can't speak with her on the comic Black Widow, but movie Black Widow, you suck. Yeah. I'm sorry. You suck. You're in a love triangle. You barely fight. Like, you suck. I'm sorry.
Shout out to Florence Pugh.
Oh yeah, she's great. Yeah.
I'm still gonna watch Black Widow because I'm intrigued to see how it's gonna tie into the modern Marvel universe. But like, as far as seeing Scarlett Johansson reprise her role as that character, like she's dead. She's dead. Doesn't matter.
Iron Man's dead, and people are trying to bring him back. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Back to life.
Please don't ever let that happen, Marvel.
So
bring in Ironheart. What are you waiting for? What are we waiting for?
Oh, Ironheart's happening, man. Ironheart is.
I feel like that slightly teased it, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so many different Easter eggs that I don't want future spoilers from the comics, obviously.
Yeah.
For everybody.
So I was not excited for the Marvel Universe. Like, I was not in the same way that I was when they first started hitting. And I just couldn't wait for the next Marvel movie. I don't know if it was the pandemic. I don't know if it's because I feel like we got a great ending with Endgame. But like, the only movie that I am just like, or was absolutely super stoked and super hyped for was Blade. That was the one that I was like, this is when that movie drops, like I will go to hell and high water to watch this movie. So that was like the Marvel movie that I was super excited for. But everything else, that they had talked about, I was like, cool, this is going to be fun. But it wasn't me just like bursting at the seams to want to go see some of this stuff. But now after, what's that?
Where would you put Blade on a ranking of vampires?
We did that show. You can check it out on Simply Sassy vids. But anyway, so after Captain America and the Winter, he's Cap now. Whatever. After Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I am super stoked for the next Captain America movie. I didn't think we weren't going to get a new Captain America movie, but I just didn't know what it was going to be. So now after watching this, I have an idea of what it's going to be, and it's got me super stoked to watch that movie. So I'm super excited about that. I'm super excited about Blade. The recent trailer for Shang Chi got me super hype. Like
Oh
that came out of
man,
nowhere for me. What's that?
same. No, I was just
Yeah.
saying same. Yeah.
Like I didn't know of that movie because like I said I was kind of out of the Marvel loop for the most part. So when that trailer dropped, it was a total surprise to me, and I'm all in. I want everything to do with that movie.
Hell yeah, dude. And what were your final thoughts on the series as a whole, Phil?
I loved it. So I've said my controversial opinions about Civil War before. I'm not going to go into detail. I'm just going to say that regardless of what your feelings are on Civil War, I wish that movie was called Civil War and not Captain America's Civil War, because I didn't feel like it was enough of a Captain America movie for me. Um, and so, like, getting this was a nice refresher and reprieve. Because I absolutely love Captain America, the first Avenger. I absolutely love Captain America, the Winter Soldier. And so this was just like not a return to form, but it was right back into that universe that I absolutely love. And yeah, I loved it. I loved every minute. You know, despite my feelings on whether or not I wanted it to be longer here or there, or whether I felt like certain things could have been done differently, I still enjoyed every single episode.
Nice. Cool, buddy. And I kind of in the same vein there, where, like you, Phil, like after Endgame, I was kind of almost a little bit burnt out. So I'm kind of glad that obviously this pandemic is horrible and awful, but from the MCU side of things, for me personally, it was nice to have a bit of a break away from that, because I felt like that's what I needed. And then for them to come back and get weird with WandaVision and just, yeah, I just love the direction that they're going now, that they are changing things up, that it's a little bit different, and so excited for Loki, and that trailer just is exactly what I want that show to be. Is just a little bit weird and wacky, and just the tone of it is so cool. Let's go! I can't wait till we review that. It's going to be so much fun.
It looks like a focused lead.
What is it? Mid-June, right?
Yes,
For Loki.
it's coming so soon. I can't believe they're all so close together. This is awesome. And I think the thing these shows are doing is, you know, they may not be, you know, my absolute favorite in the ranking of the MCU side of things, but it is really fleshing out these characters that we all love. And I really love that. And, you know, taking characters like Vision, for example, that barely got any screen time in any of these movies, and to see where we are now, it's just, and obviously Wanda, same thing there. We got a bit more screen time with her, but man, just some of the stuff in that series is just, yeah, so good. So I'm loving that it's giving us more of what we want, and I'm actually enjoying a lot more of these more personal moments with these characters. While the action's really cool, I kind of just love these characters interacting with one another and seeing what this world is like, especially after what happened in Endgame with the blip. That's one of the most fascinating things for me. And like you mentioned, Phil, that episode with Monica Rambeau where it told her coming back, like, I want to see more of that kind of stuff, and I hope that's what we're going to get in some of the shows. So no, this is cool. Super excited for Cap 4. Just see more Sam and Bucky, you know. Let's just give them a buddy cop movie. Let's get them out there. That's what I want to see, and that's what I'm super excited for. So just more weird and wacky and fun stuff from the MCU is what I want. So, yeah.
I think you bringing up WandaVision and getting more screen time for Wanda, like those historical bits on her, just echoing what Lexi was saying earlier about Sam and his backstory. You know, seeing her little tidbits of backstory and why this world was founded on old, you know, TV sitcoms. I thought that was like a great insight into her character and her past, and I would have loved to have seen more of that from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Sorry, I just wanted to say that real quick.
No, good, buddy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I definitely agree on that. And yeah, the TV stuff so far is really just blowing me away. I had, you know, pretty high expectations, but what they've done is just completely blown it out of the water with everything so far. So really loved this series as a whole. I thought it had some really high highs and low lows, like I talked about, but the highs were definitely worth it for me, and it's got me really excited for what the future holds with the MCU. So very excited for more. So yeah, all good. So, yeah, huge thank you to everyone that's been on the show today. Thank you for everyone in the chat hanging out and obviously commenting there as well. I do want to go around just quickly and find out where people can find you, amazing people. So, Hoodie, first off, where can people find you, buddy?
The Penny Marvels everywhere.
Nice. Well, that keeps it easy.
Thank you for having me on.
So, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And Lexi, where can people find you?
The_Gunner everywhere.
Yes. And please go give both these amazing people a follow. And Phil. Phil, definitely give Phil a follow. And Phil, where can people follow you at?
You would be able to find me and follow me at Philip J. Woodward everywhere, except for Twitter decided that my name was too long, and I'm now at Phil J. Woodward there. But, what are you going to do? But on Twitter, you can find me at Phil J. Woodward. On Twitch, you can find me at Philip J. Woodward. And pretty much everywhere else, it's Philip J. Woodward. So
Nice. And you can find me at Please Be Excited on Twitter, on Twitch. That's where I'm at. You can find me also over at Simply Sassy with my friend Phil here, where we've done some pretty cool interviews recently. We've had Greg Miller on, Rahul Kohli. We've got a very big special guest tomorrow we'll be interviewing that we can't quite talk about yet. We've just interviewed one Noah Watts, Connor from Assassin's Creed 3. You might know him from Sons of Anarchy. A really, really fun and really cool episode, so definitely check that out over at simplysassyvids.com. You may even be watching this on here if I can find time to upload that on there. So, yeah.
I just want to say tomorrow is going to be a new day.
Good tease, good tease. Anyway, we love you all, you beautiful people. Thank you again for everyone coming on the show and all you great people in the chat. Until next time, we'll see you. Bye. And yeah, hashtag get Phil in a video game. Absolutely, Penny. Penny Marvel.